Today we're going to be talking about strategic video marketing and content repurposing, specifically to help you grow revenue and scale your business online. Although some people are just trying to change people's lives, and that's okay too. So you can use video to grow your business and also to change lives. One of the main reasons why we're doing this is really to, if we're trying to drive business, one of the best things about video creating content is that it really does drive those inbound leads. And so these are all calls that are getting scheduled either through, for me in particular, through LinkedIn or on YouTube. And they're finding my content, they're finding my video content, and they're either reaching out to me directly on LinkedIn or on YouTube to schedule calls to chat with me. And one of the best things about this is really they're all ideal clients, and most of them, if they're interested, close pretty quickly. So I don't spend a lot of time with each person. And one of the best things about video is that it really is hard to stand out these days. It's a noisy world. Everybody's got a product, a service to sell, and everybody's really saying the same things, especially when you go to their websites. It's really hard to differentiate yourself, and it's really hard to gain people's trust without referrals. And that's really where content comes in. 80% of people prefer to learn about a company through custom content. And that's especially true with video. Video is, especially effective on that. But it can be pretty overwhelming. And that's where it can be overwhelming, but it really doesn't have to be. This is, after I sold my previous company and I started to grow my next company, this was me doing my first video, and it was pretty stressful at the time. But very quickly, and what I'm doing now is helping people actually do this, do video and get on camera and generate business. So it's important to think a little, or to talk a little bit about why video is important and why social media in general. And video in particular is great because when people see your video, when they see you online, they really start to feel like they know you. Most of the time when people reach out to me, they may have seen several videos of mine before they ever reached out. And when I talk to them, they often say, hey, it feels like I already kind of know you. And it's an interesting concept because I've never necessarily met them before. So it's just a really cool way of introducing yourself to the world. And social media is particularly important because you have to, in order for people to see this content that you're creating, you have to go where they are. So unless you've got, a really established business with a lot of inbound traffic coming from Google or wherever that is, people aren't hanging out on your website. So you have to go to where they hang out, and everybody's customers hang out in different places. But you have to go where they are and post content there so they can actually consume your video. And and social media is also great because you can build awareness and build trust with people at scale, right? So up here. So, I make posts on LinkedIn, and I'm able to reach, thousands and thousands of people every single day, and I'm posting every day. So you can see that's a large exposure of being able to talk about what you do, expertise that you have, helping people out, providing value, and you're doing that on a regular basis. And, you just really are able to get your name out there. And it's important to kind of understand how social media works as well. Obviously first, when you're posting online, you're kind of an unknown entity. But then if you keep posting, over time, people are going to start to notice, they keep seeing your face, your picture, and they might start asking themselves, like, who is this? And they might actually finally say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and watch one of these videos from Steve. And I keep seeing him, what's he's all about. And then they might decide, hey, I'm going to follow this guy. He's got some good information. He seems like a valuable person. They start to think, hey, I could work with this person. And then over time, when the time is right, they might actually say, hey, I need to work with this person. So it's important to kind of understand how social media works in general. So let's talk a little bit about video and the different types of video, and then thinking about strategy. Because when I think about strategy, I'm always trying to think about, like, it's leverage. How do you leverage your time, your money, your effort to get the best result, That's when I think of strategy, that's what I'm always thinking. And so with video in particular, I'm also trying to think, okay, how can I create some ongoing video where I'm on camera all the time that I can then repurpose later. So I can publish the video, I can hold a webinar, I can hold a live show, I can do a podcast, but then I can also repurpose that content on social media later. And so I think that kind of the fun part for me when I'm helping clients is really helping them think through, what kind of video can they do? Like what's going to be most effective for them? And there's really a lot of options. And I think that's kind of the fun thing. So there's obviously webinars. That's what we're doing here. I think there's a lot of advantages to webinars. It's very specific information. You can easily test what the market wants. So I can put out a webinar. I can see how many people register. I can see how many people actually show up. And that in itself can help you verify the types of content very quickly. And it provides a lot of value and demonstrates what you can do. It's just very specific. The drawbacks is it takes time to plan and takes time to organize, but it is very specific, and it's a great way to deliver content. Workshops are very similar. You might even say webinars and workshops are kind of the same thing. And then there's also live shows. I think I personally think live shows are going to become bigger and bigger. Video is important, but I think one thing that's interesting about live shows in particular is that you can't really fake it. So on a video, I can kind of do all this fancy editing behind the scenes. I can make it look exactly how I want. I can give you the impression I want. But with the live show, it's live, so you can't fake it. And I think there's some interesting things there. And plus with live shows, I think you can just have a lot of fun. So I'm actually about to put on my own live show. So I thought I'd show you guys, some fun things you can do. So I can, I'm going to be putting on like a news style live show. And so I've got these different camera angles that I can show people, right? So this is going to be like before the show starts. I have another side angle here where you can see me from the side. And then you've got the host view, and you can see that I can create that logo effect. And then I can really orchestrate everything. So here's the intro to my new show. I'm going to be putting on a LinkedIn Live where I talk about how you can create content that converts into clients. And so I've got this little intro here. So obviously I'm going to be doing this presentation with Doug. You can see the music kind of starts to come in here. I can say, hey, we are live. Glad everybody's here today. Glad you're here. Let's get into the show. Woo! So you can have a lot of fun with this kind of thing. You can have graphics coming in like that. I just think going live is a really interesting opportunity. And I'm using, just in case you're interested, I'm using a software called OBS to do that animation and to do the different camera angles and all that kind of stuff. So lots of fun there. You can repurpose that content as well. You're also on the platform where people are. All of a sudden you show up in their feed and they can just watch. So I think that there's some really cool advantages to that. There's obviously short individual videos that you can publish to YouTube, LinkedIn. Those also provide very specific information, which I think is great. I think the one challenge with short videos is like you have to make sure people actually see them, which can be a challenge. And then it's harder to repurpose. So if you've got like a short 1 or 2 minute video, that's going to be harder to repurpose. And you're always having to produce new videos. So the way I approach that is I usually do a couple of short videos, but the majority of my content creation is long form video that I can then repurpose into shorter stuff. There's also documentary style videos, which I think is also a very interesting way to go. This is where you can really demonstrate what you do, because you're really showing like a project that you're building. I'm helping a client right now. They do e-commerce, and so they're doing a project where they're taking a Shopify store from 0 to $1 million in 6 months. And so we're basically documenting that through Zoom, doing strategy calls, doing screen recordings on people actually implementing these different things. So you can do some really rich content that way. You can repurpose that very effectively. Really, the challenge of that is just organizationally, how do we pull this off? How do we get people to record themselves, and then how do you make use of that video? So really awesome, hard to pull off without some good organization. And then the final option, well, this is not the final option, but one of the biggest options that I do a lot with clients is just video podcasting, mostly because that has a lot of strategic advantages other than just creating the video. So it's very easy to invite your ideal clients and have them come on the show, and you can have a very low pressure conversation with them, get to know them, learn about them. You can interact with a lot of professionals in your space. So if I have a real popular person come on my podcast, it's very easy for me to record that, repurpose it, create clips, even share those clips with my guests and have them share those clips with their network. So you really get a chance to mingle. It's like networking, but way more personal, and you have much more time with the person, and there's just way more ways that you can use that content after. And then I think one of the best things about video podcasting is that it's really consistent and it's really low pressure compared to some of the other options. So if I do a live show, I got to put some stuff together to get ready for that. You saw all the stuff that I was doing. It's fun, but I have to prepare all that, and it takes time. Webinars, again, you got to, I've spent several hours putting this together, probably even more than that. And then documentaries, lots of stuff to think about there. You can make it pretty easy, but podcasting, you're just bringing on a guest and having casual conversations with people as if you're at lunch. And that's just easy to do. You don't really have to think, other than inviting them and getting them on the show and thinking about the questions that you might go through. You don't have to do much more than that, which I think is a huge advantage to podcasting. And plus you have experts on there sharing their advice and all that kind of stuff. So it's great. And then you build up a library of expert content. So whenever I'm talking to clients, it's very easy for me to say, hey, go check out this podcast of me and Octavia, for instance. We talked about all the things that we're talking about here. We go into great depth on that. And I won't be able to talk to you that in this 30-minute call. Go listen to that. So you just have all of that material that you build up over time that you can refer people to. And then you learn a lot. So I'm always interviewing experts and learning what they have to share. And that's just huge. And so now we've been talking about long form content and the different types of video you can create and how to strategically use those different things. But beyond that, I think one of the best things about creating that long form video is to repurpose it. Turning that hour-long video, that 30-minute video into shorter 1 to 3 minute clips, creating transcripts, posting that on your website, creating images from the video, creating blogs, ripping the audio out of the video, pushing that to podcasting platforms, and then pushing all that stuff to social media. So with one video a week or one video every other week, you can create daily content and content for your website, content for social media very, very easily. And so on that note, I think it would be good to send it over to Vikram now so he can kind of show you his tool and how he processes all that video. All right, here. So Vikram, you're muted right now. I got to probably have to.
There you go.
There we go.
And same thing with the video.
All right.
Just 1 second, and then you should be able to see me. Okay. Great. Thank you, Stephen, for that awesome introduction and the different kinds of videos and the video marketing that is enabled through the tools that you were talking about. So Stephen talked a lot about repurposing, and I wanted to get more into repurposing and why that is important. And you already talked about where to repurpose the content. I'll talk from my personal experience. So some of you may know I was a founder of a company called Wind Shuttle. And one of the things that we used to do at Wind Shuttle a lot is long form content. I was like the content guy. I was creating all kinds of long form content, including some of the webinar content, the video content, but also documents and blogs and all kinds of long form stuff. So over the years, though, in the last 10 years, and I'm sure all of you have noticed that, we've seen a diminishing return from long form content, and not diminishing in the sense it's where we used to take long form content and use that as top of the funnel material. We would get so many leads from a white paper campaign that we would do or webinars that we would do. But over time, the long form content migrated to more middle of the funnel or close to the bottom of the funnel as people were trying to evaluate their options. That's when they're looking for the long form content. So to grab people into the top of the funnel, what we realized is everybody wanted short videos, short form videos. And we've seen that with TikTok. We've seen that with so many other platforms. Short videos are where the action is. So now I'm going to share a couple of very interesting stats that I don't know if people here are aware of. Stephen, can you enable screen sharing for me, please? So when you make an organic post on social, one of the things that that you will realize as anyone who's posted organic posts, especially a business, only 5% of your followers will actually see your organic social post. So a single post. So you create a long form video a week or long video every 2 weeks, and as Stephen mentioned, but if you post it only once, only 5 out of your 100 followers will see that post. And actually that has been decreasing even more. Some people are saying only 1% of our followers ever see our organic social post. So this is the reason why repurposing is really important. This is the reason why short form clips are really important. So you can post it over and over again. We need to be able to create daily content that hits our social media posts. That's the only way we can have an effective reach to our audience. The other thing that you may all be aware of is that videos have higher engagement compared to any other forms of content, text or image. And then this is a shock. This was a shocker for me when I discovered it, that 85% of the videos on social are watched on mute. And you've probably all seen it. You all see videos, watch videos on mute, and I'm sure because everybody relates to that. So what's important here is when you post videos, add subtitles to that, and those are the 2 or 3 key takeaways from some stats that we've discovered recently. So what I wanted to do is today show you a quick demo of our platform, Pictory. Pictory basically takes long form content. In particular, today I'm going to focus on long form video content, things that Stephen was talking about before, and create short form visual social posts from that. So it will distill them and it will create short video posts from that. So the way it works is, and it's probably best to skip the slide and get right into a demo. So I'm going to show you a demo of how Pictory works. So this is Pictory, and one of the things, as I mentioned, is you can start with a video. So I have Stephen sent me one of his video podcasts that he was talking about. So what I do is usually I would just drag and drop that video file, an MP4 file, right here into Pictory. And upload it. And what Pictory is doing as it's uploading is it's putting it in the cloud, but it's also transcribing the entire video. So by transcription, what we mean is the audio track is being extracted, and that is being through speech to text, it's being converted to speech. And we have markers for every word in that transcription, so we know when a certain word is spoken. So usually that takes a while. So I have done this before. So just like a cooking show, I'll bring this up again. So this is the podcast that Stephen was talking about. And here's the transcript of that podcast. Here's the video. So we can say, hey, can we search for this? We'll just play the first.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Digital Masters Podcast. Today we have on Octavia Connor.
So you can see the subtitles are by default, they're added in here. Now I can do, I can say, search for certain things. So she talks about Atlanta. I can search for Atlanta and go right there to that part of the video.
Once I signed that very first client, it was almost like that client opened the door and other clients came in. And that's how we were able to go from an accounting firm here in Atlanta to an actual virtual.
So the other thing you notice is we highlight all these filler words. We all tend to use us and ums a lot. So they're automatically highlighted, and we can actually remove them from the video automatically. We just have to go click remove from video, and the filler words are gone. So they're not just gone from the transcript, they're actually gone from the video. And so that's one thing you do before you do any kind of cutting and pasting and content repurposing. Now we'll do some AI magic to help identify the key pieces of content that I want to create, that I want to repurpose and create short snippets from. So I pick highlights, 10% highlights of this podcast, for example, and I just click OK here. And what it's doing now is it's taking the transcript, it's running it through a natural language processing AI algorithm, and it's coming up with the most unique sentences that were spoken during that podcast. So now the AI really gives you a starting point. You'll still have to go through and identify what are some of the interesting sentences that we did occur. So like, for example, this is an important one so it adds context, so we can easily add this to the highlight. I can remove this from the highlight. She talks about repurposing in this video. So I can search for repurpose, and I can say, let's add this whole section to my highlight. So each of these highlighted sections can be little snippets that we can use while we're repurposing that. Also, by the way, I now have a 4.5 minute trailer of this webinar. Or of this podcast. So I have the 30-minute podcast, I have the 4.5 minute trailer, but I can also now have the individual sections that I picked, and I can create short videos out of it. So as an example, I can say, I want to delete everything else except where she talks about this, the repurposing, and delete everything else from the video. So now I have a 30-second version of this video that I can play.
Honestly, I think that's a major part of marketing, but especially with videos, I like to see where they found us. And also on YouTube, you can see what videos receive the most views, the most likes, and the most comments. And then I go and repurpose that content over and over again, and it churns more business for the company.
So that's a very nice quick highlight that I can create. That's one video. So when I go to the next step, what Pictory lets you do at this point is you can add branding to your video. You can say, hey, I want to use my logo, and I want to have my logo on the top right all the time. I want to have a call to action, maybe an outro scene. Stephen showed an intro scene. You can have an intro scene here, and you can change the fonts and the color scheme to match your brand colors and so on. And that gets applied, and you just have to set it up once, but then it gets applied to every video that is set up here. And you can see that here. So this is going to be a short 30-second video with the subtitles here, as well as the outro that we talked about. The other, I'll show you some examples of how our customers have been using it. So you see how I did it, how I baked the short videos. Now let me show you examples of how customers put this. So this was one of our customers is a company named Aptio. And so this was a customer, a CXO interview that they created a 30-second or 53-second version of that.
Impact do you see new delivery models like cloud and agile have on all of the transformations that you're talking about making?
Sure. Well, cloud and agile are enabling more than just the IT department to make impactful technology decisions.
So that's an example that they came from a longer interview that they did with the customer, and they extracted a 1-minute version of it. Here's another example from the same customer. This is a little bit longer.
Cloud were developer velocity, being able to build and release capabilities more quickly, modern capabilities as it relates to building products and operating data centers, as well as the opportunity to change our cost model, not so much cost savings, but really being able to change our cost model from a CapEx to an OpEx model.
So you can see this was basically a Zoom meeting that was recorded, and they were able to repurpose it into many different videos from there. And here's another one. We have tons of examples like this where we've been able to take webinars and or other videos and cut them into small bits and create short videos and post them on social media. So some of the things I showed you, kind of what it's capable of right now. Some of the things that we're working on is, for example, we've signed up a partnership with Hootsuite. So you'll be able to go right from that, from the highlights section where I showed you a bunch of different highlights, and post multiple things right into Hootsuite, and you basically fill your social media calendar right there from one place. Another thing that Pictory lets you do, for example, is you don't have to start from a video. You may also start from a text. So repurposing also applies both ways. You can go from a text blog and create a video out of it. So for example, this is a Pictory blog, and first thing it's doing is it's actually using the same AI that we saw before. It's extracting the key messages from that blog that you can see. It selects key sentences. I can add or remove sentences that I don't want. And very quickly, I have a 5-sentence summary of this 34-sentence blog. Then I can go to the next step. And what Pictory will now do is it basically will, for every sentence, it will try to find the best fit image. So we have an image and a video stock library that it tries to search for and find the best video or image that meets every scene. So this first one is just the title. It's coming from the blog itself. We can have other ones that are coming from the video library, video boost conversion rates, and so on. Then it finds a music track that it automatically applies, and you can also say, I want to have a voiceover, and it will narrate this for you. And you can change any of these videos. You see the brand settings get applied automatically. And I can now quickly preview this video to see what it looks like.
Pictory blog. Lots of text content and little traction. Video boosts conversion rates by 80%.
So you see basically the same idea is it creates, you can start from a long form video, or you can start from a long form text. So that's really what I wanted to share today. We wanted to stop in about 30 minutes, which is where we are. And we'd love to take any questions that you might have.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. Oh, let me, let's see, let's look at the chat. Any questions going on there? If anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and drop them into the chat, and we can unmute you. And we probably have not so many people. I can just allow you to unmute yourself as well. Oh, let's see. How do you generate the subtitles?
So Julie, the subtitles are generated by default. You can choose to, so we are automatically transcribing the audio that's in the video, and then we know the timestamps of when to insert them. So that just automatically gets inserted in the video. You can choose not to insert it, but it's just there.
And then also, what settings do you need so the video is automatically running when viewed? Oh, you're talking about like on social media specifically?
I think that's what Fortunato is talking about,
so usually that's dependent on the platform. So most platforms where you're publishing that, they're going to determine that. So there are some cases where you can, I think like when you embed a YouTube video on your website, you can have it automatically play, I think. But I think for the most part, that's something that the platform, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok, most of those automatically start the video as soon as it comes into the feed.
And that is for native videos. If you put YouTube videos or Vimeo videos on LinkedIn or Facebook, then they don't autoplay. You have to hit a button.
And AJ is asking, is it multilingual for the subtitles?
So we do support European languages, and so the videos can be transcribed German, Italian, French, and so on. But we haven't enabled it for other languages yet.
Cool. Any other questions on either figuring out what type of video you would do or how to repurpose your content effectively? Is it possible to take a written tutorial and convert it into tutorial videos?
Julie, that's going to be tricky, right? I mean, you saw the kinds of things that it can do. It basically can take, it can convert videos to using stock content. It can look up images and it would put stitch images together. Now, instead of the images that are in the stock content, you can replace them with your own images or videos. And so that's one way that you may be able to do this, but it won't be the same kind of you doing a live demo and showing the tutorial live. You can't create that from just a written piece of material.
And then what's the average time to transcribe the videos?
So I like that 30-minute one that your webinar is still transcribing. It hasn't done it yet. So I usually say like it takes about about a minute per minute of recording.
It's amazing how well the transcriptions work.
Yes, it's highly accurate. It's about 85% accurate, and it's all happening on the cloud. So like while that is happening, you don't have to babysit it either. You just let it.
Something else, yeah, come back. All right. Great. Got a comment from user experience seems quite intuitive and simple. Very nice. Yeah, I agree. It's the flow of your software works really nice.
Great, thanks, Daryl.
And I think that's kind of key with content in general, because what I've noticed is content, doing video content, all that stuff, I kind of feel like it's a performance sport. So the faster and more efficient you are, the more attention you can grab. And so at every point that you start to think about doing this, the more you can streamline your process and make it easier, the more content you'll produce, mostly because you won't think it's such a pain. Because in truth, this stuff is hard. But that's what the advantage is. And so that's why these tools are so cool, because they make it easy. So you have to invest a little bit of time to figure out how you're going to make this workflow simple for you, so that you can put it into your weekly routine, train the people that need to do it, whatever that is. And so having a tool like this that's so simple is what gives you the advantage over everybody else that is trying to do this stuff.
Steve, can I ask a question? You mentioned the podcasts and the video podcasts. I love it. They're awesome. In fact, just browsing through the one with the one you did with Octavia, that was great. Do you think the reason the podcasts are really, they get attention is because you're two people talking, it's kind of informal, versus you're seeing slideshows and you're seeing a lot of dense content on the screen. It turns people off versus having a conversation?
You know what I really think it is? I just think that everybody consumes content differently. But yeah, I do think, having two experts that are just like casually having a conversation about something, when it gets in depth on stuff, I think people like that. I was on another show where it was really informal, even more informal than mine. And a lot of people just reached out and said, "Hey, that was really cool." Just like, just hearing what you guys had to say without it being scripted, or, I think you can get, it's authentic, I guess. That's kind of a loaded word these days, but it's just like, you just get to see people in their normal element. And I think that's the key, is that there's so much noise out there that the more people can kind of just see how you operate and just see how you move and talk and think things through, how you process information, I think that's why people gravitate towards podcasts. But I do like to remind people, though, that you don't necessarily, like, a lot of I think podcasting in a way is, it's kind of a loaded word in a way. You don't have to like get millions of subscribers. In fact, one of the main reasons that I use podcasting is really just for the micro content and being able to distribute it and being able to reach out to people that I wouldn't normally otherwise be able to reach out to.
Awesome.
So, any other questions?
I think Rhonda wanted to say something. She unmuted.
Rhonda, did you have something?
No, sorry. Hi, I had just joined and I came in a little late. I'm sorry.
No
But
problem.
no, I'm good. I'm good just listening right now. I believe there was some social media that that someone was going to talk about during this. And this is why I had signed up.
Oh, cool. Well, so we went through most of that already, but we're going to take this video and push it onto YouTube, and I will follow up with everybody with a link to view that after. But if you did have any questions, we'd be glad to answer them now too.
Wonderful, thank you. I guess the question I could ask is about Instagram and their reels. If you wanted to grow your following, how many reels do you think you should post per week or per day or per, I don't know. What do you think a good metric would be to use to increase your following using reels?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in general, the more the better. the more that you can, that you can. I know that sounds a little bit generic, but I don't particularly play much on Instagram myself, but just in terms of all the platforms, daily is kind of like the minimum. And then really just like even more than that is like trying it out. Like it's actually an interesting question, because I get all sorts of questions like that, like what's the best practice here, best practice there. But in the end, a lot of these things come down to like specifics, like who your target market is, where are they, how often are they on the platform, what are your products and services. So it's gonna end up being tailored to your situation. And so the only thing that people can do is give you some basic advice or help you accelerate certain decisions there. But in the end, you're just going to have to start posting and see what actually happens when you actually do it. So I would say try to post every day and see how it goes. See what people are how people are responding.
Thank you. And I'm not sure, I haven't tried posting stories as yet, and I'm not really sure the difference between posting the reels versus the stories. And I wanted to know if you have gone over anything like that.
Yeah, we didn't touch on that in particular. I know, yeah, and I don't know Instagram as well. So, but I know Reels is kind of their new thing. It's kind of trying to compete with TikTok. But that might be an interesting thing for you to think about too, though, is like as you create those Reels, you might just think about posting them on TikTok as well to see what happens over there.
Okay.
I have heard other experts talking about having a reel every day is important, but I'm just filtering that through other people that that are successful there. But that's just me kind of relaying that information.
Okay. Thank you.
Looks like we have. So on use case, could we use this tech to generate a sport highlight based on commentary? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, you can. However, I think it's not something where we have tested or targeted yet but I suspect you could use it. The commentary, sometimes the timing may not be super precise. Like I can imagine a American football game, the touchdown, when it happens, the commentary lags maybe a little bit after that, just because of how the timing happens. So I don't know. And frankly, I mean, that's an
interesting question.
We haven't tried it.
That's what's fun about content in my mind is like, I like people when they think really creatively like that. Like that's how because what I find is we box ourselves in with what we think is possible. And the more creative you are, and the more you just kind of think outside the box like that, I think that's a great way. And you should explore that and see what happens. Because like sometimes you just never know how this stuff is going to work until you do it. So like the live show I'm about to start doing, there's all these questions I want to ask somebody to tell me everything that I need to know to make this work. But I mean that you can learn a few things, but you end up having to just try it out and see what happens. And then,
are you going to record the live show, Stephen?
Yeah, I'll record them. They'll go through a restream, and they record all the all the video. The other thing I think is cool about podcasting is cool because it's unscripted. But the one thing I like about the possibility with a live show is like really treating it like a show. So on LinkedIn, you see a lot of people going live with two talking heads, just kind of doing basically a podcast, but just live. I want to produce an actual show. So I'm going to have like 3 segments and do the same 3 segments every time. Have music that goes in between each section so that when people see my live show go on, they can always say, oh, I know what I'm going to get here. So I think the disadvantage with podcasts is that sometimes the conversations can be scattered unless you're a good host and you bring things together and you keep things like on track. Sometimes they can be kind of, they can go all over the place. So
following through on Rhonda's question, we should probably wrap up here in a couple of minutes. So how about LinkedIn and Facebook? Have you come up with what the right frequency for posting is on those platforms?
So on LinkedIn, I think as often as you can. I've played around I do once a day is my general. I've also started playing around with twice a day. So I'll post early in the morning, around 7 a.m. my time Pacific, and then I'll post again at like 4. So my post has had time to kind of play out. And when I did that, I did see that I was getting 20% more profile views when I did that. So, but I think it's as often as you can where you're providing value. I think that's the trick, is like, these are goals. So sometimes people have to work up to that. That's not necessarily easy to do unless you've got all your systems and processes kind of down. And I use a mixture of video and text and all that. So, but on other platforms like TikTok, I hear, 2 times a day. So that's why these platforms are important. Like, so how can you create that much video as easily as possible? All right, guys.
Excellent.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Vikram.
Thank you.